Welcome to the 12th House podcast. I'm Michelle, the co-host and your head witch in charge here at Holisticism. I started Holisticism to help creative, intuitive, spiritual people actualize through their sacred work. And at the 12th House, that's what we talk about all day long. We give you tools to do whatever it is that you're here to do. That's going to be intuitive business practices like sales, marketing, branding. That also means learning about things like self-knowledge, spirituality, creativity, everything that you need to really expand as a person. So join us twice a week to talk about everything you could possibly need to get the expansion pack and jump to the next level. I think you're going to love it. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, and let's get into today's episode. Hi, Wallis.
Welcome to the green room.
We're so excited that you're here. We're in a silly, goofy mood, but honestly, that's actually when we make our best content or our worst content. It's either or.
There is no in between. So here we go.
Let's hope this is one of those good days. I think I have a good feeling.
It's a good day to have a good day.
It's true. We are answering some questions, which is really fun.
We haven't done this in so long. Community questions from our lovely community. Thank you for writing in, sharing your questions. We are here today to chit chat about all these lovely, very diverse questions we've received.
We're going to talk about how to choose between a relationship and a career, how to be consistent, how to grow your business without selling your soul, how to actually execute on your brilliant ideas, and how to stop over-consuming courses and memberships and other people's content and actually make the thing. You know, just some light stuff. Before we do, Wallis, what's on your mind, and like, is there anything that you're like, ooh, I'm deep diving, I'm nerding out on this stuff? Because we're in the safe zone right now. So I kind of feel like we can go to our good for you days and be like, oh, what are you buying? What are you doing? What are you obsessed with?
What have I been into? Well, I did just sign up for the Creative Pragmatist book club, which you sent me.
So jealous.
I have been noticing as I've been shopping, I've been very influenced by the Creative Pragmatist, which we have done an episode on. And I'm feeling really grounded in my discernment for what I'm looking for and shopping for right now on the topic of shopping.
Sick.
On the topic of life, I have been thinking about consistency.
Oh.
Which is part of one of these questions. I have been thinking about consistency and the ways in which I've tried to force myself to be consistent that just do not work for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a very, okay, Wallis, let's cut the bullshit. What's realistic about know thyself and how to work with thyself on some level and stop pretending you're going to be someone else.
It's relatable. I think that any seasonal change like kind of is a force function on that, you know, like, okay, what are going to be your new habits? Are you going to go run every morning? Are you going to go swim? Are you going to put on sunscreen every day? You know, like whatever your things are, like your big dreams. I feel like my summer plans are always like very aspirational.
Oh yeah.
And then it's now. And I'm like, wait, June's over.
What? Yeah. Okay. So tell me what's on your mind.
I'm thinking about you going into grad school and you're not that far away.
I know. I like that you're thinking about it. I'm like slightly trying to avoid it. I'm like, yeah.
I think about it like every day for you. I'm like, I hope she's getting excited. And like, you know.
We had an advisement session sometime in June and somebody had asked, oh, should I be doing this course or reading about this thing to prepare for this class? And the advisor was like, don't do anything before school except for enjoy your summer. He was like, spend time with your loved ones, your friends, and your family because you're going to be ignoring them for 2 years. And I was like, what is this, med school? So it was kind of a nice answer to remember that I do feel like summer is a lot about maybe seeing people you haven't seen in a while and just really basking in the present moment and like squeezing the juice out of it. I feel like that's something you say all the time. And so that is also top of mind of thinking about how much my relationships like enrich every other area of my life and really like basking in that.
I love that your professor was like, don't work, just party.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and NYU. Like that is
just party. Okay, now your turn.
I've been thinking a lot about like mediumship and ghosts, because as we've discussed
Yes,
off
you
air,
have.
I had a ghost experience at our desert house. And I'm like, this is scary, but I also don't want to be scared of it. So I'm looking for a mentor who can help me with my, like, develop my skills. And so I met with this woman and she was cool. I don't think I'm going to work with her, but she did like provide some good insights. And she was like, yeah, they know you can hear them. So like they're coming through and they're stoked. We've talked, I think, before about my sleep paralysis, and my sleep paralysis,
Yes.
as I call him, my demon. So like that, she's like, oh yeah, he just does that because to get your attention. Like you could get my attention in any other way, because I guess
Not the scariest way.
yeah, but like that's how really, like when you're scared is when you're really paying attention, right? When you're like hyper ears up
Mm.
versus like little angel numbers and like cute butterflies landing on your nose, like gifts from spirit. You're just like, whatever, fuck off, whatever. That's not that interesting. A rainbow, who cares? But then a ghost comes and haunts your ass and you're like, wait a second, spirits are real. So they do whatever they can to get your attention. And so that's where I'm at. I'm just like really studying that, thinking about it, looking for people. And also, I'm just thinking about like how many scammers there are in the intuitive space. There's just so many.
Everybody listening, if you have any hot tips for a real one out there, let Michelle know.
Yeah.
I feel like you will find it now that you've put that call out. The right person is going to come.
Yeah. I'm so curious because I've been like putting my feelers out and asking for people who like specifically are mediums, and there are so few people who are mediums versus intuitives versus psychics.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, it must be because it's easier to be a scammer as an intuitive. Then you can't really scam being a medium. You can't be like, I don't know, Uncle Henry says hi. It's like, well, I don't have an Uncle Henry, so you can't really make it up, you know?
So true. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this journey. Stay tuned for the updates here in the green room.
Yeah, seriously, nowhere else. But should we get into our questions?
What did the ghosts want? What do they want? What did the spirits want?
Right. What do they want? Well, I think it's helpful, like, just to ground down where our minds are, because where we are in our lives, like, it's going to impact how we give our advice, right? Like, advice that we would have given this time last year would look probably slightly different. So, trying to share where our perspective is, like, what's informing us the most right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, last question before we get into the questions.
Okay.
What is your summer vibe other than being haunted? JK, but for real.
Just like trying to cook everything and anything.
What are you making?
I just made I went to the farmer's market and got all these stone fruits and made a stone fruit galette. It was really good. Yeah. Just like, I love cooking and I love having the time to cook. So that's been my summer vibe, and feeding Rhodes and just enjoying with him. What about you?
I would say cooking, but I've been doing a bit of traveling. I'm trying to get back into just taking more film photos. It's just a fun hobby, but I definitely go in waves here and there, and trying to get back, ride that wave.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
Now that we're settled, now that we're oriented, let's get into the cues. So this first question, we both were like, wow,